Thank you, Senator Peters. Good morning, Mr. Secretary.
Good morning.
It's nice to see you. Mr. Secretary, in March, SkyWest filed a 90-day notice of its intent to terminate service at 29 essential air service communities. Nebraska has 3 communities served by SkyWest: Kearney, North Platte, and Scottsbluff. I'm concerned about this development because essential air service is critical for these rural communities. Last week, I sent a letter requesting the DOT continue issuing a hold-in order for these Nebraska airports, requiring SkyWest to perform the minimum service required by statute. Will you commit to continue issuing hold-in orders to SkyWest and ensure their contractual obligations are upheld in providing service to these rural communities?
Well, thank you for the question. We recognize how important EAS is and share your concern about this announcement by SkyWest. As you know, the DOT has acted to order them to continue service. And while we'll prepare a formal response to your letter, I can tell you that we envision extensions in order to make sure that the public is served.
Thank you. I hope that you'll work with my office so that we can preserve the essential air service program that ensures that smaller communities across my state and across this country can access larger aviation networks. Mr. Secretary, I found recent comments from political appointees within the administration to be extremely worrisome when it comes to decision-making that is traditionally left up to our states. For example, internal guidance about the December 16th FHWA memo directed staff on how to implement not only discretionary grants, but also formula funding and the NEPA process. These actions do not align with the bipartisan intent of the law, a law that I supported. It appears that this administration intends to have a heavy-handed and really an adversarial approach with the state DOTs in the implementation of the highway program. This is a stark departure for the FHWA's relationship with state DOTs historically. Mr. Secretary, do you feel the administration is trying to strong-arm state DOTs and local partners in the implementation of the law in order to advance the climate change goals that didn't make it into that bipartisan bill?
Senator, I would say we very much value our working partnership with state departments of transportation, and we recognize that there are different conditions and needs in different states. We viewed the guidance as stating common sense priorities that are important to us as an administration and a department, but also take care to make sure that any guidance that goes out internally or externally is compatible with the law as written. And certainly nothing, for example, in this guidance would preclude any lawful use of funds from taking place. And if there's ever any indication that comes to you of a project that is otherwise lawful that runs into trouble, I would certainly welcome a chance to speak with you about it.
Okay, I will hold that to you, sir, that we have that conversation, because I know it's not just my state department, but it is many others across this country that are concerned about the direction they see this going. In your view, what is the FHWA's administrator's role in working with transportation partners that have really boots on the ground and are charged with turning dirt to complete these projects? Ultimately, the success of this program, it really depends on the local and state partners to get the job done. It is not federal bureaucrats that are going to be doing this.
Well, again, we view this as a partnership. Of course, we have a responsibility to make sure that the states spend the funds in ways that are compliant with federal law. But ultimately, the bulk of the dollars are directed and deployed by those state leaders. And Federal Highways has a presence on the ground in every state, as you know, which allows us to have an especially tight working relationship. What I found is that different states are at different levels of I would say, energy when it comes to pursuing some of the goals that are of interest federally and have different priorities based on conditions on the ground. But what I think is going to be most important is to ensure that these dollars are used in a way that maximizes the value for the taxpayer. And we recognize that may mean different things in different contexts, but we'll, of course, be responsible for ensuring that any use is compliant with the law.
I appreciate that because every state is different. Every state has funded different infrastructure projects within their state differently as well. And to be able to have a state set priorities without the federal government coming in or without federally elected senators and representatives picking projects that they think should be priorities. I think you have to look at how states set those priorities, how they determine what those priorities are based on the plans that they have worked on forever, and the goals that they set forth in their 5-year plans, their 10-year plans, in meeting the growth that they see in various parts of their state. That's extremely important to be able to have those decisions made at the state and local levels. Don't you agree?
Well, I agree, and I think it's in the context of a dialogue where, Washington is never going to know all of the details of local context. On the other hand, we may have access to best practices or important things to consider, and we value that exchange where we provide whatever knowledge, insight, and resources we can, and the states, of course, are on the ground actually implementing the formula dollars.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate your openness to have a conversation. You have been that way in the past, and I look forward to future conversations with you. Thank you.